Howdy heretics, and welcome to the March JW Broadcasting 2020. And this broadcasting we will be talking about the biggest mistake I made in my life and how we can encourage children to do the same mistake, namely being baptized as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. And JW Broadcasting is a propaganda program. It is really boring, but I thought, well, let's make it some fun since we're all sitting at home afraid of a virus. So I made JW Bullshit Bingo, and you can print out this. There's a link in the description. But basically what it works is you get to choose one, and if you pick the wrong one, you get minus. If you pick the right one, you get a plus. So, Watchtower, it's a propaganda machine and they're making propaganda. So, like the first thing here is called worldly person with a container of alcohol. So Watchtower will always try to make worldly people look bad. So when they're holding alcohol, the first one here is called worldly Frankenstein grab. If you see in Watchtower propaganda videos, when a worldly person is grabbing alcohol, he's not grabbing it like this. He's grabbing it like Frankenstein and he's holding it like this. And depending on the age of the worldly person, if it's a young worldly person, it's like this. If it's an old worldly person, it's like this. But use both hands and holding it in. It's normally a 1 liter bottle of vodka. And he's drinking it in the proximity of his vehicle. So we never said that he's driving, but we're putting them in a bad light. So that's the worldly Frankenstein grab. Or you have the worldly knockover grab. That's when a worldly person is drinking a beer in a Watchtower propaganda video. He will not take beer like this. He will take it like this and knock over several other bottles of beer. And then you have the worldly drop. The worldly drop is when a worldly person is done drinking, he do like this. He just drops it on the ground. So, do you think there will be a worldly Frankenstein grab, a worldly knockover grab, or a worldly drop? There's 15 hours. So the aim of this game is to get 90 hours for this month. If you don't meet the requirement, you have to step down as an apostate and go back to Jehovah. So, and then, since this is a baptism video, broadcasting about baptism, we will see a lot of baptism videos. So, and as a tall man, I know that there's a problem to baptize big people in a small tub. So, I give you 3 alternatives. Will there be a failed baptism video? A, everything except 1 foot. B, everything except 1 hand. Or C, everything except both knees. And Jehovah's Witnesses like to describe themselves as being multi-ethnical, international brotherhood. So, we need ethnic baptism. Will there be A, African baptized in a muddy river? That gives you 15 hours. Or a Greenlander baptized in a hot tub? Or a false Christian baptized in money? Talking about currency. So, pick the right alternative and you might get 15 points. And then Watchtower like to explore people with disabilities, and I decided to stoop to their levels because we're not making fun of the actual individuals, we're making fun of Watchtower. I would never make fun of people with disabilities. If it weren't for them, it would be next to impossible to find good parking. So remember that we're making fun of Watchtower, not the individuals. And by the way, disabled individuals that are Jehovah's Witnesses are not necessarily the nicest people because, according to them, I am, as an apostate, am mentally diseased. That would be a disability, but instead of being considerate with something that's not my fault, they ask Jesus to kill me. So, if any disabled person from Watchtower Propaganda is sorry about this, just remember, you can have my house in Armageddon. So, win-win, everyone's happy. So, we're not making fun of the individuals, we're making fun of Watchtower. So, will they exploit baptism of a person without legs? Baptism of a blind person with a guide dog? Or baptism of a deaf person? This gives you 20 hours if you can pick the right one. And then being worldly. When Jehovah's Witnesses describe worldly people, they are miserable and unlucky and terrible. But that's a good thing because they can become Jehovah's Witnesses and be happy. So when they describe worldly people that in the transition of becoming Jehovah's Witnesses, will they describe them as A, worldly while reigning, B, worldly while playing violent competitive sport, or C, worldly while being educated and miserable? This gives you 25 hours. And then we have the transformation. You see someone that starts out as a terrible worldly person that slowly turns into a wonderful Jehovah's Witness person. That's a transformation. So A, will there be a female with big hair and pants that put on a skirt after Bible study? B, will there be a male with facial hair that shaves after Bible study? So the first picture we see him with beard and facial hair, and then without. And C, will there be a messy worldly home that magically become clean and tidy after accepting Watchtower literature? And then we have the false dilemma. Watchtower often like to make a scene where you can see two things at once that are kind of the opposite, like to give you a feeling that these are the two things you can choose from. They can talk about going to church instead of going to a Christian meeting. Well, church is a Christian meeting. It's just not Watchtower approved. But they will say stuff like going to church instead of a Christian meeting. And normally they do this with pictures. So I put on 3 false dilemmas here. 10 points, if you find the right one. It says A, if there would be a scene with a person hiding behind a couch in a gloomy apartment and is hiding from the happy witnesses on the other side of the door, basking in the sunshine. B, there would be a scene with a overflowing ashtray and cigarettes, and in the same picture there are life-giving Watchtower literature as a contrast. So there's cancer and death, or everlasting life and Watchtower literature. And then the last false dilemma would be a depressed and lonely person in a park or a public place, and he longingly watching the Jehovah's Witnesses frolicking with their J-Dub cards. So I think this will be fun. I never tried it before, so let's try, because we're all homesick today. So let's roll the first clip.
What's the most important goal that we're trying to accomplish in our ministry? What's the destination that we want to reach? Jesus identified it at Matthew chapter 28 and verses 19 and 20. There he said, "Go therefore and make disciples of people of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit." Our destination then is a baptized disciple. Each person we meet, each piece of literature that we place, each time we direct attention to the website, each return visit we make, each Bible study we conduct, we should have the final goal of making a baptized disciple. So from the time we meet an interested person, we want to have our eyes on that goal of making a baptized disciple.
Yes, the Bible do say you should make disciples and baptize them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. What Watchtower kind of forget is that most people in America or in Scandinavia are already baptized to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. There's no place in the Bible that you need to be re-baptized every time you change your view on doctrine. But Watchtower say if you change your view on the doctrine, who is the faithful and discreet slave, you need to be re-baptized. And then that would actually mean that you're re-baptized to the faithful and discreet slave. Because if a person changes the view of doctrine, other doctrines, like the overlapping generation, you do not have to be rebaptized. It's only if you change your view on the doctrine who is the faithful and discreet slave, then you need to be baptized, and baptized to Jehovah and the holy organization. It's kind of weird. I remember when I was baptized as a child, I was 16 years old, I was very sincere, I read the Bible, I thought the Bible was difficult to explain, it's very complicated with the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Really, it's between me and Jehovah and Watchtower. That's what I thought, that was my mind as a 16-year-old. And then with more Bible reading and more independent thinking, I discovered Jesus, but then I dropped him again. But the point is, the Christians are right to criticize Jehovah's Witnesses, or especially the Watchtower, for this. There's nowhere in the Bible that you need to be rebaptized when you change your view of doctrine. And then Jehovah's Witnesses themselves should be rebaptized every time Jehovah hit the new light notification bell. But they're not. So, anyway, I think we must go over the JW bullshit bingo, because there's some things I forgot to tell you about. So, and it's this month specials. And you get 30 hours. So, and remember, this is just light entertainment. It's not meant to be political correct, and it's meant from a propaganda point of view. And in the propaganda, they always use good-looking people, or they use less good-looking people. And always when there's Watchtower, people standing by carts or in field service, they're really, really, really good-looking people. Good-looking sisters, good-looking old people, good-looking children, good-looking couples. They're always good-looking. But when there's a baptism, they always find a frumpy sister, maybe with a great personality. This is just entertainment. But since we're playing bingo, I had to put this here, because maybe they changed it. Maybe they moved into the age of internet and decided to baptize a hot sister. If you think they will do that, you get 30 hours. Then the other is B. Will there be persecuted triplets in drag? There might be. It's a long shot, but you might get 30 hours. And then, will there be a worldly person smoking on a petrol station? Because as we all know, Jehovah's Witnesses try to make worldly people look bad. So if they're smoking, will they go the extra mile to put him on a petrol station? Or am I bluffing? Remember, I'm an apostate, and we are deceitful. And then, one thing that is in here, in the broadcast, is the second witness. Witnesses believe the two-witness rule, and that's not only for protecting pedophiles, which is not what they intended to do, but they use the two-witness rule on several occasions. And if you look closely, you will see the second witness in one of the shots. And if you see him, you get 10 points. You just have to spot him. So, let's do the next clip.
If we don't have that endpoint of a baptized disciple fixed firmly in mind, we could end up stuck on side roads. For example, watch this video and see if you can identify the problem that our brother has.
You going out in field service after lunch?
Yes, I'm gonna be there, but I've got one return visit that I gotta make.
All right, see you then.
My neighbor lost his job after 20 years. And as a result, he's got to move out of his house, got to move into an apartment. I decided to go help him out a little bit to pack up, make it a little easier for him to make that move.
Won't it be nice, a time period where we don't have to worry about economic troubles like that?
Yeah, it will. That's why I'm so happy that my grandchildren chose to go for higher education. They both landed good jobs. On that bridge that you cross when you come here, you've noticed that they're starting to do some work on it. And that's pretty extensive work. They're going to replace that whole bridge. So according to the newspaper article, it's going to be like a 6 to 8 month project.
Wow, that is a long time. Chris, the reason why I came by is I wanted to show you this magazine.
I love these. These are so well written.
Isaiah 48:17 is a key scripture here. Notice what it says. I, Jehovah, am your God, the one teaching you to benefit yourself.
That's familiar. I think your dad read that to me once or twice. How's your dad doing anyway?
Doing good. You know, they said they've got more Bible studies than they can even cover in 1 week.
Well. You know, I can remember when you and your dad came here. You were a little kid about this high, and you just stayed right by his side, and your dad was so proud.
You know, Chris, I know my dad had offered to study the Bible with you in the past.
John, to be honest, I'm too old to change. Set in my ways now. I think that God's just going to have to take me the way I am. More chocolate?
Yeah, don't mind.
So this old man say that I'm set in my way and God have to accept me the way I am. And this is a big problem for Jehovah's Witnesses because he has to be Watchtower approved. And I would disagree. I think God would be honored to accept this man. Okay, he's not a real person. He's a fictional person created by Watchtower. But let's see. He seemed to be a widower, but he keeps his house in perfect order. That's very important in Watchtower land. He's taking an interest in his neighbors. He's helping the neighbor to pack. Maybe some heavy lifting involved. That's a very nice thing to do from a senior citizen. His children are getting higher education, which in America you actually have to pay for. So he's respecting their choice to do what they want in their life, and maybe he's contributing with money. Grandparents often do that. He's a great guy. And then he's reading up about the bridge they are building. That's actually very important because, you know, the Jehovah kid, he's just reading Watchtower. And he comes from a generation that only read the headlines on Facebook. But this man is from a generation where they actually read the print and looking out for this bridge. So if the mayor of this fictional city will start to waste taxpayers' money, or maybe give the job to an entrepreneur that's his friend and pay an overprice, this old man will find out about it and write an angry letter to the local newspaper. So this is a really great guy. We need more people like him. But in Watchtower land they said, can you see what problem this young brother is having? Well, it all boils down to the old man being the problem because he says that God has to accept me the way I am. And in Watchtower land, that's not good enough. You need to be baptized to the faithful and discreet slave. Probably, working with the picture they're showing us, this is a white male in America and a Bible reader. So he's most likely already baptized to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And that's not good enough for Watchtower. In comparison, I am not baptized to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. I'm baptized to the Holy Organization. So, this was a lovely man. And, well, he lied about Watchtower. He said that they are so well written. They are not. But other than that, nice guy.
What about a person you've been studying with for years, but the person isn't making changes, hasn't stopped going to church, and shows no real interest in attending Christian meetings? Hasn't stopped going to church and shows no real interest in attending Christian meetings. It may be wise to discontinue the study.
So this is an example of a false dilemma. Will you go to church or will you go to a Christian meeting? Church or Christian meeting? You will not get any points for this because it's not on the bingo chart. But Watchtower have this all the time. False dilemma. And it's kind of arrogant to say church or Christian meetings. Most Jehovah's Witnesses are nice people, but I would say the governing body is kind of arrogant. And like the Watchtower literature say, being arrogant is the opposite of being loving.
In our first video, we'll hear from several brothers and sisters about how they progressed to baptism. We'll learn answers to questions commonly asked about baptism. What does it take to qualify? What does one need to work on? What's the actual day of baptism like? And what blessings can you expect after baptism?
I enjoyed associating with Jehovah's Witnesses. Later, I also started to study the Bible. I knew that I had to make drastic changes in my life, but my job prevented me from doing so.
So I asked myself, what would I like to do with my life?
I began studying the Bible again with the couple, and 1 month later started attending meetings regularly.
Since our parents had stopped studying, only 3 of us went to the meetings.
Jehovah could do a lot with you. Jehovah can, your whole perspective can change. I knew if I applied what I learned, Jehovah would not let me down.
To strengthen my relationship with Jehovah, I read the Bible daily and I pray.
My relationship with Jehovah has gotten stronger. When I pray now, it feels like I'm talking to my close friend.
Going on service more, I think it really helped me to draw closer to Jehovah and making the kingdom feel real to me. And so that's why I wanted to get baptized.
What a great pleasure it was for me when 4 months later I could dedicate myself to Jehovah and get baptized. That made me so happy.
Today is a very, very special day for me because today I'm getting baptized.
At the Regional Convention, August 9th, 2014. It was a beautiful day.
Now, when I think about my 3 children who got baptized today, I feel my heart is full of joy, and I really thank Jehovah.
Yeah, there's not a day I don't go thank Jehovah for taking me out of the darkness.
If we are determined to be loyal to Jehovah, and we have the courage to remain chaste, well, we won't have any regrets.
I love this guy. He has the courage to remain chaste. Yes, that's why you're a virgin. You have too much courage. Women don't like guy with guts. They prey on the weak.
I often think, God, is it true? Is it real? Do I really deserve to have all these blessings?
All these blessings have helped me to see that this life provides true satisfaction and true happiness.
The important quality that Jehovah has taught me is love. I felt that love from my family, from Jehovah, from my friends. I learned that it's okay to love people, and that's what you're supposed to do.
Working closely with Jehovah, I really feel part of his family.
When you give your faith to Jehovah, you're giving your life to him. He's permitted these things to come upon me. I knew that, but he protected me.
When I meditate and think about what Jehovah has done for me and Lele, I don't have to be afraid. Jehovah is my secure refuge, because lives may change, but Jehovah does not change.
Choosing to serve Jehovah was the best decision I have made in my life.
When I started studying the Bible, there were various factors that hindered my study. I was a truck driver and I was on the road a lot. I had the worst kind of friendships and I smoked. I smoked on average 60 cigarettes a day. I realized that if I was going to make the needed adjustments, I had to change my profession. So I changed my job, but if I wanted to get baptized, I had to stop smoking. I cut down to 2 or 3 cigarettes a day. One day I bought a single cigarette. I lit it and I prayed to Jehovah. I begged him to help me. And he did help me, so much so that I never smoked again.
It takes a lot of time to make a rebuttal on a JW broadcasting, because if the broadcasting itself is 1 hour, I have to watch it like 20, 30 times. I'm taking a bullet for the team. But you start seeing all the things they're doing and all the small layers of manipulation they put in. Like whenever a worldly person do something, they try to make it even worse than worse. So when he's smoking this cigarette, they have to put him on a petrol station. And is this me being overly critical? No, and I'll tell you why. Making propaganda videos take a lot of time. And since Watchtower don't own the universe, that means they have to ask for permission to shoot. So, and assume that they actually do ask for permission, since they are very honest people. So we're working with that assumption that they ask for permission to shoot a video. So imagine the team that were making this video, they say, okay, so the scene where he's buying a cigarette, do we have a location for that? And the ministerial servant answer, yes. It was a nice worldly person that said we could film it in her restaurant. Okay, that's good. And what about the scene where he's smoking the cigarette? We need to find a new location with a petrol station. That's a lot of extra work, and try to walk around trying to find worldly people that are not persecuting you, that owns a petrol station, and you knock at the door and say, hello, we're God's one true religion and we would like to make some cult propaganda on your property. Is that okay? Would it be okay if we shoot a scene with us smoking cigarettes on your petrol station? Assume that Watchtower ask for permission, which they are supposed to do. That means they put a lot of work in finding a location where they're allowed to smoke on a petrol station.
For some, the road to baptism takes much effort. But when that day comes, it marks a turning point in their life. We'll see that in our next video.
I was born in Dalby, Queensland. I'm the youngest of 5 children, and my mother and father, they owned their own piggery, so we lived on a little farm about 10 minutes out of town. When I was 8 years old, my parents separated, which came as a huge shock to me. It was devastating, and the consequences just seemed to roll on for decades. I would go and stay at the farm with my father for school holidays, but my dad, he abused alcohol and smoked cigarettes and used bad language. So by the time I was a teenager, I was doing exactly the same thing. In my later teens, I was smoking marijuana every day, and I was spending up to 4 nights a week at pubs and clubs and parties. I was addicted to alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, and pornography, and I had no power to stop. Obviously, it was only a matter of time before that lifestyle affected my health. I lost my social skills and I became depressed. The turning point in my life came one afternoon when 2 of Jehovah's Witnesses knocked on my door. Because of feeling so lost and so unhappy, I had started to search for answers, and I'd begun looking at New Age teachings. The timing felt too remarkable to be just coincidence. I really felt like God wanted me to take the book. I never looked at New Age teachings again. I started to read the Greatest Man book instead. A major key for me to be able to make the necessary changes was to cut off bad association. I was baptised in March 1994. When I finally took that step, I felt like I'd started on the right path. I was so grateful that Jehovah had found me and that he'd drawn me. I really fell in love with the thoughts of Psalm 8, verses 3 and 4. O Jehovah, when I see your heavens, the works of your fingers, the moon and the stars that you have prepared, what is mortal man that you keep him in mind, and the son of earthling man that you take care of him? The hope of everlasting life also really touched my heart, and so did Jehovah's forgiveness. I felt so grateful that Jehovah could forgive me for all of my wrongdoing and that I could have a fresh start. When we were invited to start circuit work, I had serious doubts about my inadequacies. I was not fast at preparing talks. For me, it always felt like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. But the very morning after receiving our assignment to go on the circuit work full-time, my Bible reading was Exodus chapters 3 and 4, where Moses cited his inadequacies to Jehovah, that he was not a fluent speaker. Well, of course, Jehovah asked him, "Who is it that assigns a mouth?" It was like Jehovah was saying to me, "Don't worry, I will help you." To make the changes that I did in life, I'm just so grateful to Jehovah. Before I learned the truth, I was lost. I didn't know who I was. I was just a mess. I wanted to be a man, and I didn't really even know how to do it. Jehovah has rebuilt me from the ground up. Jehovah has given me everything.
Bingo! This was kind of a bingo, because we started with Reigning While Worldly, and then we had Reigning While Worldly again, and then we had a bearded man that lost his beard as a circuit overseer, and also he started out with a messy apartment and he got a clean apartment after reading Accepting Watchtower Literature and Better Lighting, but that's not on this. So there's a lot of bingo here, but I think it teaches a good lesson. He wanted to be a man, but he didn't know how to be a man, and Jehovah reached out to him and taught him how to be a man, and he became a circuit overseer in Australia. And some of you have heard about the Australian Royal Commission. So Jehovah's Witnesses have a problem of covering up sexual child abuse, and he's a circuit overseer. So most likely he's been a part of covering up those things. So he wanted to be a man. Jehovah helped him how to be a man. This did not include how to protect children, which is the biggest, most important thing for a man to know. So I'm kind of pissed with Jehovah and his priorities, but at least he got to stroll in slow motion on a beach. Well, hand it to them, Jehovah's Witnesses are good at strolling in slow motion, but this was a beach. So statistically, if you end up strolling on a beach in Australia, it must be divine intervention. And, well, but if you are in a low place in your life and a religious organization knock at your door, it must be divine intervention, like the next clip will show you.
At that particular point in my life, I was as low as you can go. It was just a lot of bad things going on in our lives. I was struggling with drug addiction. I was using several times a week. I was embarrassed. I was hopeless. We had financial problems.
We were fighting a lot, and we were having a lot of trust issues. We hit rock bottom as a couple. I was like, I don't know if I want to deal with this for the rest of my life.
I didn't know if Marnie was going to leave me. I didn't know what the future held, and I was scared about it. Strangely enough, that's exactly when the missionaries had come to our door.
I let them in. I was like, Tony, the missionaries are here.
I was like, I just don't want to deal with this right now. But surprisingly, I wasn't as closed off to it as I originally thought I would be. And I guess that's due in part to the spirit of positivity and happiness and energy that we were sorely missing at the time.
And then when they left, it went with them. Since joining the church, our unity and our strength and the love and our family have grown.
It put me on the path that I need to be on. It's made me a more honest person. It's made me a happier person.
It allowed us to recognize that we do want to be with each other forever, and it saved our relationship.
They say you cannot mix false religion and true worship, but I just did. So I think this proves that Watchtower and the LDS Church are both true. And think about it. Statistically, it would never happen that someone knocks at your door while you're having marital problems or being depressed. So if it happens, it proves that both of them are true religion. I always said that these cults should merge. So, and now we have God's approval. So, do we get any points for the competitive sport in the beginning of the Mormon propaganda? Well, that's a conscience matter, but I would say no. Because when Jehovah's Witnesses start with putting sport in a bad light, it's because competitive sport is bad. And there would be more people, so you're playing in their bad association and there are possible injuries. Mormons are actually allowed to play competitive sport. So in their propaganda, the point being made was that I'm playing all alone, I have no friends. And when it comes to, because Mormons like basket, so he didn't have us, but now he has a team. He no longer have to play with himself. He's not allowed to play with himself, but that's a different story. But okay, so it's a conscience matter if you want to take the points for competitive sport. But yeah, Mormons are kind of worldly because they have an education. So let's roll the next clip.
But what if you've been raised as one of Jehovah's Witnesses? Are you thinking about getting baptized? Have you made baptism your personal goal? Getting baptized when you're young can lead to a life filled with rich blessings. With that in mind, I'm so happy to welcome today a very dear friend of mine, Brother Robert P. Johnson. You're here, RP, because you are a wonderful example of someone who has had a life filled with blessings in Jehovah's service. So I know that your family goes way back in the truth. In fact, I understand that your great-grandfather learned the truth in Brother Russell's time, even before 1914.
That's right.
So that means you're a fourth-generation witness.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Brother Johnson is the fourth-generation Jehovah's Witness. His great-grandfather learned the truth before 1914. So that's a lot of overlapping Johnsons. But seriously, he just said that he's the fourth generation. Not the first generation. I think this is a case of accidental new light.
But now, like so many who are watching our program, you were a little boy growing up in a congregation of Jehovah's people. So how did you come to the decision that you wanted to dedicate your life to serve Jehovah and then get baptized?
I remember that evening after supper in my bedroom praying to Jehovah to accept my dedication. The date was May 25, 1949. I was 11 years old at the time. I told my parents, and they were happy, but they just wanted me to wait longer to make sure, especially how I would handle the teenage years and so on. So I waited.
And so then when did the moment come for you to finally get baptized?
I was at the 1953 International Convention, Yankee Stadium, New York, on July 22, 1953, that I was baptized. And again, I remember that like it was yesterday. When I came up out of the water, I thank Jehovah that finally I am one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Being dedicated and baptized early in life helped me to stay focused on the truth. I still remember that dedication. It means something to me, and I try to make it mean something to others for as young as they can possibly make it, for as young as they can possibly make it, for as young as they can possibly make it, and they'll find the same thing I found. Jehovah's blessing will be with them.
So I don't like this. They're directly addressing children. They started to say that as many in our audience, you grew up. So it's very clear we're talking to the ones growing up with Jehovah's people. And then they talk about those blessings and blessings and blessings. There are no blessings. Nothing that's unique to Jehovah's Witnesses. Maybe he found a nice wife, good for him, but that's not unique to Jehovah's Witnesses. When we talk about something that's unique to Jehovah's Witnesses, that would be his wife dying because she couldn't take a blood transfusion. That would be unique to Jehovah's Witnesses. What's unique to Jehovah's Witnesses is bad. What is good with Jehovah's Witnesses is not unique. You can have friendship, you can have camaraderie, you can find nice people, you can have some kind of feeling that this is something we do together as a family, or we have a hope. All of these are good things. Community, a set of principles, all of these are good things, but they are not unique to Jehovah's Witnesses. What is unique to Jehovah's Witnesses is that you have to do this and you have to do that, and you cannot do this, you cannot do that, and some of these things might threaten your life, like the blood transfusion. So I don't like when they address children to be baptized, because being baptized as a Jehovah's Witness, first, it has nothing to do with Jesus and Jehovah. You're promised to be a part of the whole. You get baptized to the Father and the Holy Organization. But also, you're not allowed to leave. I have it in writing, a letter from the Scandinavian Bethel that says that you made a decision and you answer so-and-so questions. So they will hold it against you even if you're a minor. And what's special in this broadcasting is they are constantly, I cut most of it away because it's disgusting, but they are constantly pushing, what about the day of baptism? How does the day of baptism feel like? Is it a wonderful day? Yes, it's a special day. They are pushing the idea of your baptism day. And the reason why they do that is because girls like to be a princess. I think so, because I'm a stupid male, but so are they. So I think they're pushing the idea of, oh, you can be a princess for a day. It's less important for a guy. But I think it has an appeal to young girls. Maybe I'm wrong. But in this broadcast, there's always, over and over again, pushing, the day of baptism. It's something special. And okay, let's just go with the cliche. If you would ask 9-year-old girls, would you like a princess wedding? I think it's safe to assume that a lot of them would say yes. And if you would say, would you like a princess wedding today? They would say yes. Because they are kids. They're allowed to be kids. And that's why the law say you're not allowed to have a princess wedding today. You need to be 18. Because it's also something about what husband you pick. It's not about all the fluffy stuff. So when you're selling the idea of the day of baptism to a minor audience, you know that they might take a decision based on all kinds of things. If you ask people that were baptized into religion, why did you do it? The most common thing is, well, all my friends did it. I personally got baptized because I thought maybe then Jehovah would grant me some Holy Spirit so I could get rid of my masturbation problem. Yeah, that's why I signed a verbal contract with a printing company that stole my family. I was stupid as shit. Or coerced would be better. So I'm not happy with this. And you see this guy, he seems like a really nice guy, and he says over and over again, all the blessings I got, all the blessings I got. And he'd been working 60 years for Watchtower. And one of the good things with Watchtower, it was they said that we are a loving organization, and when you grow old, you won't grow old in this system, but if you do grow old, we promise that we will take care of you. You can stay on Bethel. We have our own nursery. We have people that take care of you. We have our own nurses and everything. And now he's being pushed to the curb, kicked to the curb. He will be special pioneer in Florida with the crocodiles and the snakes. And being a special pioneer means you get to preach 140 hours a month, I think, and you get a minimum allowance. I don't know if that includes, in America you have to pay for healthcare. I don't know if that's included. So he basically has to live on handouts from the other witnesses. So when he say that he's the happiest person ever because of the rich blessing from Jehovah, just notice one thing. He never say what that blessing is. And he has no choice but saying that. if he would say now that, well, you know, my choice to get baptized, it was a stupid thing, I wasted my life, they will take away his pension. So when his testimony that this is the best thing I've done, remember that he's basically have no choice but saying those exact words and encourage other children to do the same mistake. So maybe that's what he believes. Good for him. I'm happy. I'm truly happy for him if he's happy. But listen to me. My testimony would be, don't get baptized to the Watchtower Holy Organization. If you want to get baptized, you need Jesus and a lake. Nothing else. I'm not religious, but I read my Bible, and maybe you need someone to baptize you, but basically, worst case scenario, you just need water and Jesus and Jehovah. I don't care about the details about this mythology, but whatever you do, don't get baptized as a child. So let us hear him tell more about those blessings.
What would you say to young people who are facing the same decision that you faced when you were a little boy growing up in the truth?
It's the best thing I could have done with my life. And I had many opportunities. Jehovah blessed my humble efforts, as he has blessed you and others too. The young people today have even more opportunities because Jehovah's organization under the leadership of Jesus Christ is expanding and moving fast. And like Brother Richardson taught me, if you just make yourself available, then the organization will find a place for you and use you and use you and use you and use you. And that's so true today.
So, RP, you started with circuit work, and then later you went on to district work.
Right.
And then you were teaching the Kingdom Ministry School.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got invited to Bethel.
Right.
And 31 years at Bethel, right?
Oh, yes.
And now you and Gracie, you're doing a special pioneer work.
Right, in Orlando, Florida.
So more than 60 years of full-time service to Jehovah.
It's because of Jehovah's blessing.
Sorry, Brother Johnson, I didn't catch the last thing. Why were you being kicked to the curb after serving Watchtower for 60 years?
It's because of Jehovah's blessing.
The Mozambique Special Convention is truly outstanding for so many different reasons. One thing that has made this convention unique is that we have so many courageous brothers who have been in prison for their faith, from Angola, Korea, Malawi, Zimbabwe, and from some of the countries in Europe, who had to really stand up and set an example. And to have them all here with our courageous Mozambican brothers has made this convention so special.
It is very encouraging to be at this special convention. We have spent 10 years in the re-education camps along with our brothers from Malawi, and we were at the same camp. And today we are together at this special convention. It's very encouraging.
So this broadcasting not only focuses on coercing children into baptism, it's also focusing on coercing parents to deliver their children to Watchtower for baptism or burnt offering. And I think that's wrong. I think if the kids want to get baptized, they should do that as adult and taking an informed choice. They should use Google. They should Google, well, in this case, obviously they should Google Malawi, Mexico and see what comes up. I have no problem with people, if they want to be Jehovah's Witness, they should be a Jehovah's Witness. But I think it's wrong to coerce children into a cult you're not allowed to leave. So, if you're a Jehovah's Witness watching this, Google Malawi, Mexico.
In 1990, I was judged and condemned to 15 months of prison in Paris. We were about 100 brothers in prison. They tried to shame us, but thanks to Jehovah, we had courage. And today, this beautiful convention fills us with even more courage.
I was one of the brothers serving as a bicycle courier during the ban, delivering literature long distances. It was a difficult work because the police were searching for us. Jehovah blessed us with courage. giving us a heart without fear.
Because of our Christian neutrality, we were imprisoned. Although it was a difficult time, Jehovah gave us courage to endure. And now we are here together. We really thank Jehovah for that.
I was arrested and sentenced to 6 years in prison. Despite all these difficulties, today I feel very happy. I feel very encouraged.
At this convention, we released the Greek scriptures in Swa and Sena.
Thank you very much, Jehovah, for this wonderful provision.
I will surely use it while speaking about Jehovah's name in Twa.
We are so happy to have this Bible in Twa language. It's easy to read and it will improve our family worship.
Those were the first 2 local languages in Mozambique to receive any part of the New World Translation, so it was a very exciting day.
Imagine a convention with 10,000 Jehovah's Witnesses and all of them would be true believers. That's a good thing. All of them are happy. I have no right to steal their joy. Still, I do spend a lot of time protesting outside conventions, and we focus on #all religions must. All religions must respect human rights. And that's a good thing because the witnesses, they normally smile to us. They don't feel intimidated when we are focusing on human rights. But a convention with 10,000 Jehovah's Witnesses, even if everyone's happy today, 1 year from now, between 100 and 300 of them will be kicked to the curb, will lose their family. And the fact that they've seen us smiling, what Watchtower referred to as a genuine smile, helps them to realize there is a world on the outside and you can be happy on the outside. So we're kind of helping them both ways. We don't try to wake them up, but when they get kicked out by the Watchtower, we help soften the blow. And we might change legislation. So I really encourage people to learn how to protest peacefully outside the convention. Avoid all the negative trigger word, because remember, they believe that they are persecuted. So this was a special convention, and Watchtower, I think it's kind of a money machine, and they give some clues about that later. So
this convention was tied into 18 locations in Mozambique. A total of 1,685 were baptized.
I have faith in Jehovah and want to have a close relationship with him.
Many have commented on the fact that among the 981 that were baptized in Maputo, there were many young ones. And it just shows that the families here in Mozambique are working very hard with their young ones to help them to know Jehovah and love Jehovah and to know what it means to be courageous. But you could truly see the blessing of Jehovah here because everything has gone so beautifully and the delegates are so happy. You can really feel that Jehovah's Spirit is with us.
if you've ever been a Jehovah's Witness, you know that Kingdom Hall is not about fun. You're not allowed to dance, you're not allowed to sing. You are allowed to sing the Kingdom melodies, that's the Watchtower hymns. But you're not allowed to sing anything else. Even if it's a wedding, you're not allowed to sing a song about love. And I don't think you're not allowed to sing the old songs like the Ping Songbook. But when there's a special convention or international convention like this, you're allowed to dance and sing and bring a guitar and stuff like that. And that's because it's a money-making scheme for Watchtower. And I have no problem with that. I have no problem with people making money. I have no problem with people being happy. Actually, I think it's a good thing. But from a Christian point of view, it's really weird that the only way that you will be allowed to dance in a Kingdom Hall is if there's money involved to Watchtower. And that bugs me, because if a Jehovah's Witness wants to be a Jehovah's Witness and he wants to skip and dance and jump and be joyful in a Kingdom Hall, basically he's not allowed to do that unless there's a certain amount of money involved, one way or another. And that bugs me, because it should be free. joy and rejoicing should be free in the Christian community. But we'll see more about the money-making scheme later.
Before the work was banned in Mozambique, we used to sing to Jehovah. At the camps, we continued to sing joyfully. Now with the special convention, we continue to sing to our delegates.
I personally believe that an international convention or a special convention is a money-making scheme for Watchtower. Watchtower is making money. And I have no problem with that. But I do believe that if that's true, that the witnesses should be allowed to know that. Because, like they said, the local witnesses don't have much, but they're showing this tremendous hospitality. Yeah, that's true. But the money made from an event like this go to Watchtower, not to the local brothers. And if you log into jwevent.org, you find out that there's like a smorgasbord. The people that delegates that go to a special convention can choose between these are the hotels, and according to what I've heard, when you buy a hotel room, a certain kickback goes to Watchtower. And then there are different activities you can go to, and allegedly there are kickbacks to Watchtower. And then, so I don't want to show you jwevent.org, because maybe some PMOs will give you the login information, but if that's true, I don't think you're allowed to show it as fair use. But someone sent me a print, and it says the pre-planned activities for the Prague Convention. So a few of them, it's a evening gathering, social gathering, and it comes with a price tag. It's $54, 1,385 Czech coronas. And then another pre-planned activity is field service, and it costs $24. And then it says convention and transportation is $45. And I can make a video about all this stuff, but if they're having fun, I'm happy for them. But if it's true that Watchtower is making money, I think the rank and file should be allowed to know this. And as a witness, you do a lot of mental gymnastics. And Watchtower wants money, but they just want to cover their cost. But I think some people had problem with the mental gymnastic when you have to pay a ticket for field service. So it kind of were like the witnesses were taking care of their own transport. But now for the Prague Convention, according to my sources, the witnesses will drive and pick up the delegates and drive them everywhere. And according to my PMOs, they are not happy, because they signed up to drive some witnesses and they get a long list of where to pick them up and drop them off, and basically working as taxi drivers. And the way I see it, from the information I got, Watchtower is making the profit. But what I do know, and this I have straight from the horse's mouth, is that some of those PMOs signing up, no, actually witnesses, not PMOs, PMEs. Some of those PMEs are not happy with using their petrol to drive around people from richer countries than themselves. While Watchtower is selling tickets to field service. I have to make a video about all these printouts someone sent me.
Many of the delegates commented that their favorite part of the convention was going out in the ministry with the local brothers. Even though the brothers may have very limited resources, they showed them tremendous hospitality. It made a huge impression. Some of the delegates even said that when they go back, this is going to have a life-changing effect on them.
We want to assure these dear brothers and sisters that the governing body loves them, but greater than that, Jehovah God knows about them. He loves them.
Maybe I'm overly critical, but it sounds weird to me when the governing body members say, "We love you, but even more Jehovah loves you." Like, in case you didn't know, but still Jehovah's love is better than the governing body members, but we would understand why you confused them. It's, at least, maybe I'm overly critical, but still, it's not the religion I grew up in. We didn't know the governing body members, and if we met them, they would never compare themselves to Jehovah or explain to the witnesses why Jehovah is better than the governing body. So I think stuff have changed, it's fair to say.
There's nothing like the day you're baptized. Our new music video captures this in word and song.
In the quiet of the night, with a million stars above, when I think of you and of all you do, it fills my heart with love. If I give my life to you, you will always be my guide. As the days go by, you will see that I am forever on your side. Because you gave me hope that changed my life and strength to help me through. Because you gave your son to die for me, I give my life to you. I give my life to you.
O God, hear the word of my mouth. This is a fair use copyright disclaimer. O God, hear the word of my mouth. This is a fair use copyright disclaimer.
As the sun lights up the sky, melting warm upon my skin, how your endless days and your tender ways stir these feelings deep within.
Because you gave me hope that changed my life and strength to help me through. Because you gave your son to die
What a beautiful original song about the thoughts and feelings we each have when we dedicate our life to Jehovah.
Maybe you notice I mixed in a few Mormons there, but that's because Mormons are like raisins. You could live your life without them, but life's better with Mormons than without Mormons. And you see, they have basketball. They're allowed to play basketball, and they get cake, lots and lots of cake. But don't become a Mormon because you think that's a way to get cheap cake. It's actually very expensive if you consider the tithing.
Our program has focused on baptism. We learned that our primary goal in the ministry is to help people establish their own relationship with Jehovah.
So Brother Sanderson just said that we should help people establish their own relationship with Jehovah. Well, if you establish your own relationship with Jehovah, maybe you don't need a printing company, maybe you don't need some Mormon basketball and Mormon cake.
Before we close, let's visit our brothers and sisters in Angola. The Republic of Angola is on the west coast of Africa. This is a beautiful and geographically diverse land. It's home to the breathtaking Calendula Falls. The ministry here ranges from the city of Luanda, where the territory is worked every few days, to rugged and remote areas accessible only by walking. Angola's population of some 30 million people includes many indigenous tribes and language groups. About 45% of the population is under the age of 15. Angola has been recovering from a civil war that lasted 27 years. Despite the challenges, many are embracing the truth. Angola is home to more than 160,000 Jehovah's Witnesses. They're conducting over 720,000 Bible studies. An average of 25 people are baptized every day. 13 congregations are formed every month, and an average of 15 new circuits every year. This has created a tremendous need for places of worship. Currently, more than 300 new kingdom halls and 13 new assembly halls are needed.
Angola has experienced trauma on a national level, and this makes perfect opportunities for anyone that wants to recruit new cult members. And if you go through the statistics of growth for the witnesses in Angola, they are really good. And I assume you would find the same statistics for the Seventh-day Adventist and the LDS Church, or anyone else that wants to exploit this trauma. But as soon as those kids grow up and they get access to internet, something might happen. So that's why it's so important for Watchtower to make sure that all those kids get stuck before they learn independent thinking. But I spent a lot of time on Bethel, and Bethelites, they do theocratical warfare to what they see as outsiders. They even sometimes refer to rank and file witnesses as worldly witnesses. Kind of condescending. But when you spend some time there, you learn how to pick up when they're lying to you, and they just did it. They said 300 kingdom halls need to be built. They give you the impression that, we are going to build 300, but we never said that. We just said 300 need to be built. And that's one of the tricks they do. They never said we will use this money to build 300 kingdom halls. We just gave you the impression that you should send us money enough to build 300 kingdom halls. So I'm going to make a video about that later, because when you learn the way Bethelites lie to rank and file witnesses, then it's really easy to read behind the lines when you learn that trick. Because it's like reading from an open book, because this theocratical warfare system they use against their own members, it's really scripted.
This is the Malweka congregation in Luanda. This beautiful Kingdom Hall was recently completed and is already used by 5 congregations. Our dear brothers and sisters in Angola send you their love and greetings. And brothers and sisters, we love you all very much. From the world headquarters of Jehovah's Witnesses, this is JW Broadcasting.
So I hope you liked my rebuttal of the JW Broadcasting March 2020 edition, and that you liked the JW Bullshit Bingo. This is the first time I do Bullshit Bingo. It's a lot of time to do it, so if you don't like it, tell me. But if you did like it, tell me who won, how many points you get. I'm pretty sure the guy who chose Worldly While Raining is a winner, because he got 25 times 3, so that would be 75 points. So he only needs an additional 15 points to meet our requirement and fulfill his ministry. Otherwise, he has to step down as an apostate and go back to Jehovah. And tell me if you like the Mormons. Everyone likes Mormons. They're like raisins. So now, this was fun. And then you got some additional points if you could spot the second witness. Did you spot the second witness? I can show you him now. This is the second witness, the guy in the green-yellow t-shirt, and he does not look happy. Probably he knows why the water is brown. But that was the second witness, and you got some additional point if you spotted him. So, this was my rebuttal. It takes so much time to make it, you can't imagine, because you have to watch it over and over and over again. But it's fun. And you can still do this JW Bullshit Bingo if you watch Cedars afterwards, John Cedars. Then you just have to add some extra cedar thing. From the top of my head, I would say you get 5 points for Croatia, 5 points for Jessica, 5 points for I'm an atheist now, and 5 points for Goatlike personality. No, this was fun. I hope you like it. I hope you are among my 144,000 subscribers. If not, please partake from subscription now and partake from the new like notification bell, and you will be notified the next time Jehovah creates Bullshit Bingo, and we will all have fun. So, see you in paradise.